Hey guys, it's Scott Clark with Scooter Media, and in today's video, we're talking about how much to charge for video production. Let's get into it. This is probably the question I get asked the most, and it's kind of a difficult one to answer as there's so many variables involved, but I'm going to try and give you some actual numbers today to help get you started with budgets and quoting for video production. Chances are, if you clicked on this video, you're new to the video industry and are wondering just how much to charge clients for your work. And although it's almost been 15 years for me, I was a beginner once too and wondered the exact same thing. Some of the factors we have to look at before quoting on a job are experience level, the gear or the equipment that you're using, what the client is looking for and the time it's going to take to deliver that, as well as the client themselves. One of the things a lot of people don't mention when talking about this topic is the client and the size of the business that they run. Normally, a huge corporation is going to be able to afford a much larger budget than a small mom and pop shop can afford, and that is something else to think about when quoting. Now, going back to experience level, which I mentioned earlier, this is probably going to be the biggest factor in determining how much you can charge. Most videographers have a day rate that they can charge, so let's look at some actual numbers now, and I'm going to break this into beginner, intermediate, and pro as far as experience level goes. So a beginner just starting out can probably charge around $100 to $200 a day. An intermediate level videographer can charge $300 to $900 a day, and a pro can charge $1,000 to $3,000 plus per day. And again, these numbers are based on experience as well as the gear that you're using. If you're an editor, the day rate for editing would be around the same. However, some clients prefer that you quote an hourly rate for editing. So let's look at some of those numbers now. A beginner can charge $10 to $25 an hour. An intermediate can charge around $30 to $75 an hour. And a pro editor can charge around $100 plus per hour. I personally prefer to quote a day rate for shooting and an hourly rate for editing. This just gives me a little bit more flexibility on the editing side of things, as I don't need to think about how long the editing is going to take when quoting. I can just edit and keep track of my hours spent on it and then invoice for the hours spent editing. However, not all clients work this way, and some would like to know the cost of the entire project upfront. So if a client is asking you to quote on the entire project, try and determine how long the entire project is going to take, and then just add up the hours or days you think it's going to take you and apply your day rate or hourly rate to the total. Some other factors to consider when quoting on a video production job are travel and travel time, gear rentals, as well as any revisions that are going to be needed to be made on the project. For instance, I have a client in Toronto that I travel to once a month or so to do video work for, and normally it would take me about 2 hours to get there. However, if I use the toll highway, it cuts that time in half, so I factored that toll cost into the budget and the client pays for that, and it's not coming out of my own pocket. I don't usually rent any gear as I own pretty much everything that I need, but something else to consider when quoting is that you do have to pay for all your camera gear, lighting, microphones, computers, editing software, etc., as well as the upkeep of all of these things, and eventually you're going to need to replace or upgrade all your equipment, and that money has to come from these jobs that you're doing. And finally, the client is probably going to have a bunch of revisions on the video once you're done, as unfortunately they don't usually say it's perfect on the first edit. So that is one more factor to consider, especially when quoting on an entire project. You will need to factor in some extra time for any changes made to the video, and the client may want revisions more than once. This is another reason I prefer to do an hourly rate for editing, because that way it really doesn't matter how many revisions the client has. I just keep track of the hours and invoice them once they're happy with the final edit. Anyways guys, that's just about it for today's video. As I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for almost 15 years now, and I'm somewhere in the upper intermediate to pro level and can therefore charge accordingly depending on the client. If you guys have any questions about how much to charge for video production, just let me know in the comments below and I'll try and answer them as best I can. If you did find value in today's video, please smash the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing, as it really does make a difference, and I'd love to have you join me on this YouTube journey. I recently did a video explaining how to get into the video industry and how to make money doing it. If you're interested in checking that out, please click on the link right here and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching today's video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.